It is a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to our program, International Forum on Independent Television. My name is Evan Sunokugi, and today on the show we are going to be looking at two key issues. First and foremost, we're going to be looking at the ASYLUM plan between the United Kingdom and, of course, Rwanda. And you know that one of the realization of the breaking out that Britain had from the EU was to plan with Rwanda to make sure that people that came into Britain through the wrong channel into Britain are deported to Rwanda so that their status can be regularized. That's the way one explanation gives it. Then, of course, also we are going to be looking at the U.S. plan, talking about the gun bill issue in the United States of America. About 2 weeks ago, we came here, and of course, we talked about the way gun issues has been prevailing in the United States of America. As it stands now, we understand that the House of Representatives has just passed a bill, and those bills are supposed to put the usage of gun control in America into a way that it can be controlled. So we're going to be looking at those two key issues today. And of course, to discuss this afternoon, we're so privileged to have Dr. Lugat Sado. He's a lecturer with the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, University of Benin. You're welcome to this program.
Thank you very much for having me, and good afternoon, viewers.
And also we have a renowned conflict resolution expert, a serial author, Nowita Igbotako. Nowita, you're welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, viewers.
You're welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so Dr. Lugat Sado, let's start with you. Rwanda is supposed to be receiving the first tranche of deportees from UK today. Against the backdrop that there was an appeal that they cannot deport people to Rwanda. But somehow we understand that a court ruled some few days ago that these people can be deported to Rwanda. So let's start, let's start the foundation by looking at the whole ASYLUM plan in Rwanda. What is your take on it?
Thank you once again for having me. Well, what the British government has decided to do alongside with the Rwanda government is novel. I say it's novel because it's first of its kind. Not that it has not happened before. It only reminds me of the era of slave trade. For example, when slaves were taken from Africa to America, especially in Southern and Latin America, and then when it was time to return them home, they could not decipher the exact location to return these slaves to, so they decided to stop them in what is today known as Liberia, Sierra Leone, and all the others. Of course, the concept of Freetown and all the others can find their expression in the way and manner those slaves were returned. And that appeared to be kind of similar with the British plan alongside with the Rwanda government. Now, what the British government attempted to do, or they attempt doing in this case, is to, if you like, shed themselves of the weight of dealing with the burden of asylum seekers in their home soil, and by way of deflecting them and giving them what you might refer to as a safe landing, a comfortable landing. The British government have the option of, if you like, repatriating them back to where they are coming from, but they decided not to do that, and so they created a soft landing for these asylum seekers who entered the UK illegally. And I think that it's okay as far as the British people is concerned, but as a person, I think that it's another form of colonial manipulation. And I say it's a form of colonial manipulation because Rwanda as a state is just recovering from civil war, and they are beginning to put themselves together. In fact, some persons in Rwanda have been protesting this move by the UK government and the Rwanda government because, in their opinion, there are several citizens from Rwanda who do not have accommodation, who cannot send their children to school, who cannot pay for health bills and all the others. And then you are bringing in external persons, permit me to use that term, you are bringing in migrants with the promise of giving them about 124 million pounds as a way of a take-off grant. That in itself is a form of manipulation, because if the British government indeed is sincere to help the asylum seekers, they could have plowed that money into the British economy, into the British state, and provide opportunity for these asylum seekers to find a new home, even if it's a temporary residence, but somehow they should provide some level of comfort and succor for them. So my point is this: the British government is being smart in trying to push her responsibility down to an African state. And you know, as it is with the typical African state, whenever there is a grant that is tangled, whenever a grant is tangled for the average African state, we rush at the grant. We go for the grant without thinking of the consequences. I hear that there will be, I don't want to say deport now, they will be transferring 30 asylum seekers today from UK to Rwanda. The point is, who are these asylum seekers? What is their criminal check? What drove them from their countries? I know that there are different societies with their challenges, but you see, if the British can't accommodate them, what makes the British Prime Minister and of course the Minister of State, the Secretary, to feel that they will have homes in Africa? Needless to say that, you know, some people may be quick to say that, are they not Africans? No, they are not entirely Africans. Okay. It's a mixture of Africa and some other nationals. So my point is this: while the program looks novel, looks intelligent, and may be applauded on the surface, I think that there's more that meets the eyes with that program. And I think that the Rwanda government should be more circumspect in accepting the proposal, because the initiative was not a Rwanda initiative. It was a British initiative that was collaborated by the Rwanda government, and today it has become a policy. So I think that it's a smart move by the British government to rid itself of unwanted persons and to dump them in Africa. So Africa has always been a dumping ground. Okay.
All right. So, Nogutai Buchako,
yes.
Let's look at the intention of Britain. What do you think is their intention in achieving this? Then, of course, for Rwanda, what do they stand to gain?
Well, first of all, this policy is archaic. This policy, as you know, it was going down talking about slavery and all that. The most humiliating savagery ever, slavery. Now, what is the British government trying to do? They are going outside the Geneva Convention of 1951 for asylum seekers. This policy is disgusting. This policy is inhuman. I don't know what the British government is, what to achieve with this kind of policy.
But the question we also ask is, why did the Rwandan government, why did they accept such policy?
Maybe because of the carrots, and you know, you can see the amount of money that is involved. You know, as he said, all these migrants, all these illegal, these asylum seekers. Yeah. Most of them they are not from a particular country. Some are from several countries in Africa, even outside Africa. They just, they want to veer through the coastline, enter, the United Kingdom. So for me, the policy is disgusting. It's inhuman. It is uncivilized. Because, as he said, the money that the British government is, going to spend for this thing that is taking place today, deportation to Rwanda, it's enough for them to even, pull into the system and say they can accommodate some of this one. They should filter. They have immigration officials, just like what is being happening in the United States. They should filter. Those people are coming to Mexico and all that. They should filter them. Those that have records, those who profile, Why don't this blanket program is most unfortunate, because I don't see the Kagame government sustaining it. The government is the dollar that is interested in, because the Kagame government has its own human rights problems. It is not a paradise. Kigali government is not a paradise. The man is a dictator. The man is suppressing opposition, though he's doing fantastically as a government. He's one of the brightest political leaders.
But in Africa now.
Yeah, but we don't have a democracy there. It's a dictator by excellence. But that kind of character, you think they can be able to handle such policies? For me, the thing went to the British court and it was defeated. I see an appeal. I see it being stopped in a very, because because people are already speaking against it. United Nations are talking against it. It's disgusting. How can you just cram people without putting them to Kigali, to Rwanda, because of what? And some of these asylum seekers will even have some legitimate, reasons to have left their countries. So some left their country for political reasons, for political persecution, and some even wanted greener pastures and all that. And it is incomprehensible that the British government in this age, indeed today, embark on kind of policy Well, you know that some of the people that are even seeking asylum could be even a great human being that can contribute to the economy. We know of people in the United States, even in the United Kingdom, that came through illegal this thing, and they are doing particularly in that country. That reminds me of Elon Musk and other people who migrated to America, who came in as Mr. Nobody, and there are statistics to prove that if some of these asylum seekers, at the end of the day, they contribute meaningfully to the country they will have run to. So for me, it is disgusting. It is not a welcome development. I think the United Nations, because I was looking at a document. The United Nations is going to fight the British government.
But whether they fight the British government or not, the first tranche of deportees, they are going to arrive Kigali today.
Kigali.
Anyway, look at Sado. For a country that just survived genocide, it was sometime in 1994 that Rwanda went through the battle between the Hutus and the Tutsis and all that. Now, the question we ask, can Rwanda survive all this? I mean, for a nation that is probably one of the most admirable nations in the continent of Africa today?
I think it's $1 million question. But I have my reservations. I think that the British government is, I don't know, I want to think that the British government is not happy that there's peace in Rwanda. I want to think that the British government, for example, should have given Rwanda better industrial support, better technological support, and better immigration support if they sincerely have the intention, I mean the good intentions, of Rwanda at heart. The point here is this, like I noted in my first submission, to send these 30 persons and more on the waiting list to Rwanda is to expose Rwanda to certain elements that are detrimental.
Yeah.
And these elements may be terrorist in nature.
Yeah.
Because people from Syria, people from Afghanistan,
Libya,
people from Libya, people from everywhere, including Nigeria, I'm sure, will make that list of the asylum seekers in the UK.
Well, we understand that the asylum seekers have been profiled. I mean,
I agree with you.
Studied them.
I agree with you. You see, I'm not vilifying the asylum seekers. Neither am I criminalizing them. I'm saying that, you know, the West will never give you anything freely. That's what I have come to discover. Whatever the West provides, it is because of the gains that they have. And so, the British government sending illegal asylum seekers to another nation is most uncharitable. And I'm saying that because the people who left their countries had choices to make. If they wanted to go to Rwanda, they would have opted for Rwanda. But they examined all their options and they went to UK. Don't also forget that the UK is not the only destination for asylum seekers.
Yeah, but we're told that they went to UK through the wrong channel.
That's my point. When people are escaping from oppressors, when people are engaged in civil war and they are political targets, they use every available means to escape. And so you cannot now vilify them or blame them, because life is sacrosanct and any individual can do anything meaningful to protect his life and protect the life of his family members. So if people escaped from their country where they were threatened into your own space, the least you can do is to provide home for them, even if it's a temporary home, is to provide shelter for them. That's why, for instance, in the United States, several people were against Donald Trump because of his policies, immigration policies against the Mexico and others, including Nigeria, that he called a shithole. And of course, since Biden entered, some of those immigration policies have been reversed. Because whether you like it or not, it is the right of humans to move from one place to another. Migration is a fundamental right. It's a fundamental right. Everyone has a right to move. And so, yes, people need to move legally, but that is a normal situation. There are instances, God forbid Nigeria does not go into, Nigeria goes into war. The average Nigerian will escape. We will not need international passports to run to Cotonou or to Benin Republic or Ghana or even to the UK. All you need to do is just to survive at that point in time. Then you can now do documentation. And that is, our own president did that, General Muhammadu Buhari, where he said that, look, if you entered Nigeria illegally, the immigration department was ordered to ensure that come and document. The essence of documenting is not to send them back to their country. The essence of documenting is to have their records. and ensure that they pay taxes if they are working and things like that. If Nigeria, a third world country, can be so, if you like, open to external people who come into their country, why can't UK, the United Kingdom, a country that colonized over 50% of the entire population, countries of the world, especially in Africa, where they decided whatever happened to us, needless to say that you now identified Rwanda, a nation that is just coming up from civil war, a nation that is just coming out of bitterness. In fact, they still have several cases in the International Court of Justice that is yet to be decided. And then you are shipping unknown persons to them. And of course, like I said, it's typical of the African leader who wants money at all costs to jump at the offer of the British government
anyway,
and go for it.
There are different ways to look at it now. I was going through a literature, and it was actually a column. The columnist was trying to explain that it is actually meant to discourage other prospective asylum seekers not to come to Britain and all that. Now, the question really is, I asked the question a while ago, what is the intention of Britain? Then also, what does Rwanda stand to gain? I mean, if a country says that, look, we are using this to weigh off other prospective people not to come to Britain, then why will Rwanda openly accept such a thing?
Well, the intention of the British government or the United Kingdom is not for illegal migrants.
Illegal immigrants to come into Britain.
To come into Britain.
Yeah.
That is just that. They have forgotten that because sometimes ago, even the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said it in one of the top flight convention of his party that where will United Kingdom will have been today, if not for foreigners, not for immigrants, just like United States.
Yeah.
Somebody was even telling me that an average British children, average children, they don't even like subjects like science subjects. Physics, mathematics, chemistry, people, I don't go that far.
Even for immigrants.
No, I said, but I'm going somewhere. Yeah. That an average British student, they are not keen studying science like that. And when you allow people from other countries to come to your country, in most cases, you have brilliant stars among them. If a British Prime Minister Boris Johnson could say that some few months ago, that if not for people coming to Britain, to the United Kingdom, that Britain cannot be where Britain is. Then why this policy? Forgetting that the United Kingdom is a signatory to the 1951 Geneva Convention. That's turning its back against such, as you said, asylum seekers, it's a fundamental human right. You understand? So, you say, what does Kagame, Paul Kagame stand to gain? What does he want to gain than the dollars that will roll in? As he said, this is a country that just, because the man has said, the man doesn't have a fantastic human rights record. We can say he's doing all sorts of, he's taking the Rwanda to the next level, that have been paradigmatic shift, type of economic and other development there. Fine. But the man is a dictator. The man doesn't have the best indices going for him in terms of open society. That is the fact. So when you bring in people there, and the man will just put money in his pocket, before you know it, in fact, I want to declare here, I want to see beyond today, that in a few months or years from now,
the deal is already a deal at the end of the day.
But the thing can be stopped because the United Nations is working frantically now.
Yeah, well, let's wait. Anyway, let's look at the character, of some persons that have shown interest. Now, Prince Charles, very close to the British monarch, is one of the asylum rights advocate. Now, that's the way they put it now. Now, prior to this time, he was, he used a word that is very appalling. To take them from Britain and take them to Rwanda. So the question we ask is, how come characters like Prince Charles were not able to maybe influence the whole, issue?
Well, I think that Boris Johnson and his cabinet have made up their minds on what to do. And it's true that Prince Charles is the eldest son of the Queen.
Yeah.
And that
her heir apparent.
Well, I'm not quite sure whether he is the heir apparent now because of the British dynamics. But I mean, he's the eldest heir to the throne, and so naturally he should be the next king, all things being equal. But you know that the role of the king, or I mean of the queen in the UK government is not in the day-to-day running of the government. So it's in terms of policy, ceremonials, and all the others. As far as the day-to-day running of government is concerned, it stops and ends with the parliament that is ably supervised by the prime minister. Now, and his cabinet. Now, the prime minister is the one who initiated this idea. Don't also forget that Boris Johnson is the UK version of Donald Trump of America. That's the way I see him.
Yeah.
And he has not hidden his intentions at all.
Yeah.
And he has acted exactly the way Donald Trump would have acted.
Yeah.
Now, why is it that Charles and the likes who are engaged this deportation cannot have their way in the UK at the moment? It is because the structure of government at the moment favors the position of Boris Johnson. And of course, they took the matter to court because that is the place where the decision should be resolved. And the court ruled, was it some days ago now, that that it was not illegal and that the British government were on course and that they should proceed with their activities. Yeah. Once that declaration was made, it was obvious that no one can go against the judgment of the court unless an appeal comes. And I don't see any appeal between now and end of the day when the first 30 asylum seekers will be deported to Rwanda. Yeah. Well, my point is this. This idea was hidden inside this Brexit. It was hidden. One of the reasons the British government or the British state decided to leave European Union and all that is based on this. They were tired of the way and manner people were crossing in from European countries into the British government. Yeah. So it did not come as a surprise to many. Perhaps most people thought that with the event of things that the British government will slow down their pace or pull back. But that was not to be. Because one of the reasons they decided to sacrifice, if you like, their big brother status in the European Union was because they were tired of the way and manner people were pumping into their country all in the name of EU. So it is not surprising then that this is happening. And you see, yes, Prince Charles may have opposed it, but is the Queen opposed to it? If the Queen is not opposed to it, then Boris Johnson and his group will continue to enforce this. This is just a litmus test. They have chosen Rwanda as a case study. Very soon, they are going to extend this carrot to other African countries, like Nigeria, for example. And they are going to dangle these carrots before us and tell us that they will give us £200 million. And when you think of what £200 million can do for an average politician, not for the Nigerian citizen or the Nigerian state, then of course you can be sure that we are likely to accept that kind of offer. So that is why I am not blaming Paul Kigali, or blaming Rwanda, completely. I'm saying that they have not disappointed me. They are Africans. Okay. They are particularly concerned about what they will do. Because the question you will ask yourself is, the people you are deporting, will they be happy that you deported them? Will they be happy? What value are you going to give them in Rwanda, for example, that UK government, that can be compared to what they will derive from the UK government? Yeah. So when they come to Rwanda, are you not sure that they are going to constitute nuisance to that state in order to make the state ungovernable? To send a message to the British government that this policy is a wicked policy and should not be continued.
Yeah, just before we take our break now, now somebody said that UK seems not to understand what they are going through. As we speak now, we understand that they are making call for nationals of the world to come to UK to pick all manner of job, like the caregiver job and all that. And that is also a country that is also pulling out, asylum seekers. So what do you think is going on?
As I said earlier, the same Boris Johnson said some time ago that the United Kingdom cannot survive economically, technologically,
without migrants.
Without migrants. Because they need those brains to function in their system. So it's a it's a very funny development. You are using one hand to open one door, and you are closing the other door. So it shows that the insincerity of the Boris Johnson government. And I'm sure it's another heart of colonialism, my brother, because Paul Kagame has proved himself you know, all over Africa, that is a factor for positive development, apart from his on the democratic background.
All right, so we'll take a short pause now so that we quickly take a break. And don't forget the program is International Forum, and we still have Dr. Lugat Sado here and also Nowita Egbutako. When we come back, we are going to be looking at the U.S. Let's look at some measures that has been taken by the House of Representatives very recently about the gun control in the United States of America. Please stay tuned. Thank you one more time. The program is still International Forum with Evans Nukugi. And we understand that the United States of America, the House of Representatives there, has just passed a comprehensive gun control bill that would raise the minimum age for purchasing the semi-automatic rifles and other guns in America. Now, I remember sometime in about 2 weeks here, we discussed the gun issue in America, that it was already a mess in America, the way teenagers turning 18 years old, the freedom, the liberty they have to purchase a gun. And the biggest problem that we identified that day was that the Democrats cannot go ahead to maybe do anything about it because they don't have the majority in the Congress. But as we speak now, there's a good start in the House of Representatives. We understand that members there have passed a bill that we kind of control the way people hold gun. Can we say this is a right move in the right direction? I'll start with you, Sado.
Well, it appears that it's a right move in the right direction, only that I doubt the sincerity of the American people to actually control guns. I thought that with what has happened in the last couple of months, that the decision by the House of Representatives would have even been more, you know, if you like, more direct and straight to the point. To tamper with the age and to increase the minimum age that allows people to have access to, if you like, magazines and such other rifles is to treat the issue with kid gloves. Because, I mean, you are increasing the age maybe from 18 now to 20 or 21. I can't quite tell.
24.
Or even 24 years. Yeah. And then you have defined the kind of arms that they can have access to once they get to that age. And that means that those who are below that age can still have access to other forms of rifles. As long as it's not automatic rifle, as long as it's not assorted rifle, they can still have access to guns. And it takes a single gun to kill a person or to kill several persons. So I still think that the American government, the American state, has not decided yet whether they want to control gun or not. You see, what Pelosi and the entire House of Representatives did may appear laudable. You know, it will look like, yes, it is a bold attempt to control guns. But the point here is this. I still say it till tomorrow. It is easier for an average American to have access to gun than for an American to have access to alcohol. And that is destructive. That is destructive. And I think that not just the House of Representatives, even with this bill, with this one that has been passed, increasing the minimum age, there are fears that it won't scale through Congress.
Yeah, you say no.
There are fears that it won't scale through. And of course, the executive is pulling back. They don't want to be seen as opposing the American people because it would appear as if it is the American right to have guns. So any attempt to tamper with that right that they have, they will oppose it with the last drip of their blood. So my point is this. On the surface, on paper, it appears a noble task. But I think that it's not sufficient enough to deal with the gravity of issues that gun control needs in America. So I think that, you know, what the American people should do is to place a demand not just on the House of Representatives, but on Congress and executive, in fact, including the judiciary, to deal with the issues about gun control in such a way and manner that they will fight it the way they are fighting immigrants, I mean illegal immigrants. And if they do that effectively, guns will not be found in the hands of those who have no business with guns. To give anyone rights to move about with guns in their cars, in the shopping mall, to enter through public transport and move about with guns, it's most uncharitable, especially in this era where people have access to hard drugs. Needless to say that there are people with psychological issues who don't have control over their minds and their emotions. And if you have, and you know, like I said when we met here about 2 weeks ago, in some states in America, marijuana is legalized. Access to some of these hard drugs are legalized. In fact, doctors recommend sometimes that you take some of these hard drugs to kill pain. And we know that they have side effects. Some of those side effects make people to hallucinate and do things that ordinarily they would not want to do. As long as they have access to guns, you can't determine how they will use the guns. So the government should be more circumspect in taking decisions.
All right, thank you so much, Loga Sado. Now, I know which I Butako. It's perhaps a kind of a mirage, you know, the way some persons explain it now, because there is a part of the U.S. Constitution that stipulates that states can veto federal laws. Now, if we have a situation that eventually we have the control bill, is now passed into law, it becomes a constitution. If states can veto federal laws, don't you think we are going back to where we're coming from?
Well, let me start from this angle. You know, in the Second Amendment, you know, gives rights, in the American Constitution, Second Amendment gives rights for an average American to bear arms. That's what the Republican Party, we must get one thing clear. Why Joe Biden is a bit tactical is the issue of gun control, the issue of gun proliferation of gun is heavily politicized. Heavily politicized. In fact, it's a campaign issue. The Republicans are saying that if you take, it's like taking the guns away from them. It's like infringing on their fundamental human rights.
Yeah, but that's why they want to increase the age now from 18, so maybe about 25 or 24.
But it needs drastic action. In fact, the other day, President Biden was considering an executive order in this regard, but he now had a rethink. He said Donald Trump did a lot of executive orders that were against the Constitution and all that. So it's a very dicey issue. You don't ask a question. Why is it that some state government cannot, you know?
No, the state governments can veto federal laws.
Why are they not vetoing it?
No, what we're saying is that if at the end of the day we have this bill passed into law, maybe the president accents into it that if you are not, if you are below 25 or 24, you cannot own a gun. Then what about individual states that can also promulgate their own law for their citizens?
That's what I'm saying. The Republican Party is making a big issue. In the Senate, it's 50-50. Republican and the Democratic, the Democrats. And for anything to say true in the American Senate, you need at least 10 Republicans. So it's like you need to pass it through the biblical statement. You need to pass it through the eye of a needle, whatever. So, and it's unfortunate. So, people are dying. You have a lot of mental issues. You have, the other day, but one thing we must give to the American system, the Department of State, the judiciary, they are doing all sorts of legislations, if not constitutional, not statutory. They are taking all sorts of measures now as we speak to crack down on gangs, on all these characters that have gone hallucinated, who are hallucinated as a result of hard drugs and crime. What I'd like you to know, they are gangsters in America, organized crime. It's a big country, it's a marvelous country, but it has its own negative things. We have big-time organized crimes that circulate. And how do they function? They need guns to track down their rivals and things like that. And the biggest challenge is the opposition for the Republican Party. That's the biggest problem. Why is it that the whole country cannot come together? Those have what happened in Canada. Canada, they had similar shootings, 1 or 2 massacres, and Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, they met. That's what is happening here. They did something drastic, and they're controlling, the movement of guns, firearms in Canada. How can United States do that? United States cannot achieve it, except the Republicans have to rethink. Except Donald Trump, the godfather of Republicans, will speak. You agree with me? Never in American history, as an individual, as an individual, have an authority, ex-president, over the Republican Party.
The way he still has.
The way he still has. And the man is still talking, look at the January 6th issue, the man is still talking as if
Look at the U.S. probably needs the Republican to.
So the Republican is an issue
for this bill to save.
It's an issue,
just like what we are saying.
It's
now.
an issue
because in the Congress they don't have the majority.
It's 50-50.
That is probably one way to say that the bill is dead on arrival.
Dead on arrival.
Just like what I asked a while ago, that the aspects of the U.S. Constitution that says that individual states can veto a federal law, is it not also a pointer to the fact that this bill is a dead on arrival bill? I want to speak more on that.
Yes, I think so. I think that the bill, I mean, I said it in my very first presentation, that the bill is dead. That the House of Rep, they've done their best, but that the bill is not going to even cross.
It will not stay through.
It's not going to, in fact, that they are even going to receive it will be the best that can happen to that bill.
Yeah.
But naturally, it's going to die on arrival. However, that's why I still think that the American state and people have not yet seen this as a problem. For instance, in the 50s and 60s, when there was this segregation in America, it was so bad that, yes, of course, Martin Luther, Malcolm X, and some others decided to lead, if you like, the movement. Yes. That eventually led to the liberation of the colored people and dealt with the issue of segregation. At that point in time, it wasn't just the blacks who advocated for equality of rights. Whites were part of them. In fact, some governors, some white legislators, some white people joined them. And until it became an American movement, it did not achieve the desired results.
That's true.
So my point is this. The Republicans and the Democrats must come together and see that this is a problem, and that if a gun gets into the hand of a wrong person, the potential victim can either be a Democrat or a Republican.
Yeah, what about the influence of the National Rifle Association?
We know.
Which we say they are very influential.
They are influential, and like some people argue that this National Rifle Association has, if you like, the Republican has a stake in the NROA.
Yeah.
That is the argument. Although they have refused to accept that holistically, but we do know that there is a connection between the NROA and the Republican Party. Now, and they are so rich. You see, the NROA does not only do business in America, they are responsible for some of the arms that you find in other parts of the world.
That's true.
And so, to counter that is to reduce their profits. And since they are major sponsors of certain political persons and political ideologies, it will be difficult. That is why I said, and like he said, it will be a case of dead on arrival. However, I am advocating, and that's the point I'm making, that if those who are concerned can hear us, there is need for collaboration between the Republicans and the Democrats, because life is sacrosanct. And people are dying in their tens, in their hundreds on a daily basis. In fact, the records are staggering and very disturbing. And I think that the American state should, because America is one of the unsafest places now in the world in terms of the chances of being killed without any provocation. Because, I mean, you could say it's Syria, it's Afghanistan, it's Nigeria. We know that some of these countries are almost at war. But America is it's supposed to be a safe place. And then you can just be in a mall, you can be in a restaurant, you can be somewhere by the bus station or train station, and some guys,
one mad guy,
unassuming,
he pulls out
his revolver and opens fire and kills anyone. It's so bad now that they go to military formations, they attack police, anybody can be killed. And so that means that it has become a social problem in America.
Okay.
And so the state must give every attention, and that includes campaign. There is need, just like we do campaigns and awareness in Nigeria to sensitize people on the ills of certain practices, the American state must be involved in carrying out campaigns and awareness campaign among Americans, because if majority of Americans see the need to do away with guns, not just that they shouldn't have guns, but do away with guns, then I think that that will be the right starting point to dealing with this issue of gun control.
Okay, Nowita Ibutako, since we are looking at it that There are some certain people, the National Rifle Association, that are very powerful because of their political interest in America's governance and all that. Now, can we begin to see other ways, apart from political fronts, apart from political measures, other ways that we can probably fight this gun issue in America?
I think the political system, just as he has enunciated, the political system is a kind of revival, so to say. And it's unfortunate that there's a character who is looming over the Republican Party.
Yeah, but Donald Trump just
is a factor.
I know, but he just only came in. I mean, he did only 4 years.
Yeah, but
because this is an issue that has been there before Donald Trump came in.
But he's not helping the matters. He's not helping the matters. His grip over the Republican Party is something is unprecedented. In fact, the other day, the son of former President Ronald Reagan came out and said, he said, what is happening to the Republican Party? Is it the Republican Party that my father led at a time? Why will a whole nation be blended by the parochial interest of one man, referring to Donald Trump?
Is it on this same gun issue?
No, on several issues,
okay, political
issues and all that.
Okay.
And because an average Republican legislator, or lawmaker, they have their caucus. They will not go outside what they have discussed in their caucus. So
that's politics.
Yes.
With Democrats.
Yes. Now I'm talking about how to how to solve the problem. The American system needs a political revival. Political revival, a national revival. Hey man, let's put dollars aside. Let's put party aside. Let's put okay, what motivates the NRA? It's not dollars. And this is an outfit that can sponsor, that not can sponsor, that has sponsored many of the Republicans who are even legislators, who are lawmakers. So what they now need is a spiritual school political revival. That hey, let's put dollars aside. I think they need more of the religious leaders to come up. Because he was saying that, we remember during the civil rights movement, it was not only the likes of Martin Luther King, it was not only the Malcolm X, it was not Elijah Muhammad and the rest that led this struggle. Some whites came in. Some sitting governors came on board, and they all supported the movement, which led to the great Richard Nixon, that signed that watershed, human rights, civil rights act that now allow blacks to vote, integrated to the system. So America needs, I think Biden can lead this. Joe Biden, because he has the clout. I am a bit disappointed when he said he cannot bring an executive order on the issue of gun control because Donald Trump overuses that. I'm not personally. I'm not comfortable. Yeah, but as an American president, he can lead the revival.
Yeah, why do you think he has to say that? Does it show any good political will?
It's equally been tactical. This election is November. Election is November. And every American, they don't want it that will infringe their rights. And the Republicans are saying 24 hours that anything that want to take the guns out of them is taking their rights away. So they need a national revival that will be led, for instance, by the sitting president, that will not go from state to state. That, gentlemen, let's lay down these guns. Let's put down our political differences. Let's look at human beings. Let's look at the evil that the proliferation of guns has caused in our system. Because no matter the legislations, it's dead on arrival.
Yeah, but
look, because even some other fantastic economic policies that Biden wanted to push to the Senate is dead.
Yeah, perhaps
because they don't have enough majority. It's 50-50.
Yeah,
it's
unfortunate. Perhaps you may want to say that.
So and the another American, they are looking at November elections, and it's an issue. So for me, this problem will continue, except a Joe Biden, for instance, is a national president, is the president of the country, is an executive president. He's the one that can lead this campaign. By going from state to state, involving religious leaders, involving opinion leaders, and say, man, these people, the Republicans are not seeing what he's saying. because they are so, the level of vehemence that the Republicans have unleashed or are unleashing, or they have highlighted about guns. Even some of the progress that have been made, even in the House of Reps, Nancy Pelosi and his crowd. How many Republicans voted in the? It was largely Democrats that voted for that protecting our children's heart. That's the heart they just passed.
Yeah.
Protect our children's heart. That's the title of the legislation.
Okay.
So now, it's a problem.
Dr. Lugatsado, the United Nations seems not to be being a big brother in this respect now. Somebody actually has accused the United Nations that it is because it is U.S. that is involved, that perhaps if this has been a problem with some other small countries, smaller countries of the world, that the UN would have come up to have their stake. So don't you think the United Nations has a role to play in all this? Because this is a big issue as far as U.S. is concerned as a nation.
The question you will ask is, who is the United Nations?
The United Nations is a conglomeration of many nations. It's not only the US.
If you take away US from the United Nations, then it doesn't exist. The US is the glue that binds the United Nations together. And so there is no way the United Nations can bite itself. It can't bite itself. Because just like you said, if this was happening in some other states,
they would have taken their steps.
Yeah. And they may have been quick to have declared such a nation a failing state or a failed state. But of course, pundits are quick to argue that, yes, whenever any crime occurs in the US, they usually unravel the cause, they arrest the perpetrators, and they bring them to justice. And that is what the US is known for. Now, the United Nations can only but advise the US on what to do. But on this case, they have been silent so far. They've been silent so far. And I don't blame them, because who pays the bills in the United Nations? It is the United States.
That is the highest.
They are the high. When they pulled out of World Health Organization during the COVID-19 era, we saw that it could barely stand.
The reason why I have to bring the issue of United Nations is that one of the major things that they stand for is rights to life, rights to life, rights to the way you want to live your life. And we're talking about life here. You know, I mean, so for United Nations not to be doing the needful is suspicious, and it's worrisome too.
The argument from the U.S. perspective, until recently, is that one thing that protects your life and gives you right to life is the right to own a gun. Yes, it's the right to own a gun. You see, in the Second Amendment in the U.S., the emphasis here is that the individual U.S. citizen has a right for self-defense. And you can do that by owning a gun. And so that means that if someone crosses, because there are boundaries, if someone invades your privacy, you have a right to use your gun. That being said, is that the average citizen, the average American citizen, has a right to protect his life, first of all. But let me take you a little bit back. You say in the US, how did gun proliferation become the order of the day? It is because certain groups felt that they were endangered species. And so they needed to protect themselves from invasion by other forces. So for instance, the black community needed to protect themselves from the white community. The black community needed to also protect themselves from illegal law enforcement agents. And so people needed to protect themselves from other gang groups. And so in trying to do so, you look for certain arms and ammunition that are superior to your opponents. And so over time, you now had pockets of people, groups, gangs, and individuals going for assorted rifle. In fact, there is a man in America who is said to own the largest conglomeration of arms. In fact, he has 2 armored tankers, yes, in his house. And when they decided to quantify the value of the arms that the man has, is over 5 million or 15 million US dollars. And the man, to tell you how committed the man is to it, in one of those days when he was trying out his guns, it was one of the explosions that killed his wife. If you enter his house, they were interviewing him, I guess it was the CNN, or I can't remember one of the media houses interviewing him. And the man said that, look, anyone who crosses this line can be shot.
Okay.
And his neighbors know that. So you don't enter into his space.
Okay.
If you do that, you are at the risk of losing your life. That is America for you.
All right, so I'm afraid because of time, that's all time we take us today on the show, International Forum. For the, I cannot call them Rwandese now. For the illegal immigrants now that are leaving Britain today to go to Rwanda, I think we just have to keep our fingers, watch and see how it goes. And also a word of advice for them, please ensure you respect the laws of Rwanda. Rwanda is one country that a lot of us all in Africa we are looking up to. So please, let's keep it like that so that it will continue to be an admiration to other parts of the continent. And also for the gun control bill in America, we just pray that it sails through so that the Senate in US can also see the need, the way the House of Representatives has seen the need to have a control bill. I want to say a very big thank you to Logat Sado and also Nwita Ibutako for coming on the show today. The program has been International Forum with Evan Sunohoge. Goodbye and God bless you.